Hey guys, so today we are talking about one of my favorite TV shows of all time, The Three Stooges. What with their interesting humor and interesting stories, I thought that it was I think it's a very good show. And if you haven't seen it, I would recommend you to see it, especially if you like people slapping each other and stuff. What with Larry, Moe, Curly, and later Shemp going on interesting adventures in different time periods in different parts of the U.S. It was a very interesting show. But this isn't about their good moments. This is about the Stooges' worst moments. Now, before we get into this, sorry for kind of stealing that the day something died. Sorry about kind of stealing that title. I really hope I don't get sued. But we're going to go through the history of the Stooges first, a brief history. In 1925, the first episode of the Stooges was made. I think it used to be live originally. It featured Ted Healy, Moe Howard, Shemp Howard, and Larry Fine. Then later, they separated from Healy, and it was Moe, Larry, and Shemp. Then they went back with Ted Healy when it became Moe, Curly, Larry, and Ted Healy. Then it was Moe, Larry, Curly. Then Curly got sick and had to retire. Then it was Moe, Larry, Shemp. And sadly, Curly passed away in 1952. And in 1955, Shemp suffered a massive stroke after coming back from a game, I think. Like a horse race or something? Not sure. And died. And then it became Moe, Larry, and actually fake Shemp took his place. He was still called Shemp, but it was actually Joe Palma, who had previously worked with Curly and Shemp in the Stooges. He played a prison guy in one episode, and I think the episode Beer Barrel Polecats. I forgot what episodes he was in with Shemp. He was in like one of those old Dark Ages style episodes, Middle Ages I think, I'm not sure. He played like a guard. Anyway, well, he became Shemp for 4 episodes, and then they got Joe Besser in 55 still, or maybe 56. And then they got Joe Dorita. And then Larry suffered a stroke and they had to quit. Larry then died later, and then Moe died a few months after because he was diagnosed with lung cancer. And actually, hold on, I forgot a bit. After Larry suffered the stroke, they were going to continue the act, and it was going to be Moe, Harry, Curly, Joe, because Joe Dorita was named Curly Joe because he looked kind of like Curly. Now, his name was Ted Healy, or not Ted. Gosh, I swear I should probably just stop. Okay, I can't think of the guy's name right now. It was Emil Sutka was his name, and he had worked with Curly, Shemp. He had worked with all the previous Stooges, and in the 80s, Joe Besser died. In the 90s, Joe Dorita died, I think 1993, and then the next year, Joe Palma died, and I think in like 2002, I'm not sure if he made it to the 2000s, and if he did, then he would have been the only Stooge to make it to the 2000s. Emil Suck had died. So, now we have the brief history of the Stooges down. But now let's get to what happened to them. In 1955, the Stooges died. With Curly, the Stooges were extremely funny and lovable, what with the good-hearted but stupid Curly. And after Curly left and Shemp came, it was still pretty good. A lot of people missed Curly and said that Shemp didn't quite live up to Curly, but was still pretty good. But then after Shemp's death, especially continuing the act. I think for Larry and Moe must have been especially hard. Well, mainly for Moe, because he had just lost Curly a few years ago, and now he lost Shemp, and he was forced to continue this act, which seemed to be killing them all, slowly. And then everything didn't get funny anymore. Curly Joe especially, I think, was what brought the act down. The reason I say that is because he got whole episodes dedicated to just him. The story was losing its kind of appeal that it once had. Everything was losing its appeal of just slapstick humor. That was being removed to tone it down for kids, which honestly I think kids really just like the originals with Shemp and Curly. Shemp or Curly. Now, the Ted Healy days weren't super good. In fact, I thought, honestly, they were kind of boring. I tried to watch a few episodes of it. But really after that, that was when everything died. After Curly and Shemp. And that's because it just wasn't funny. I mean, it was being toned down and all that. And it was kind of losing that appeal it once had. Seemed to be changing, especially with that Stooges cartoon. I think things really started to become apparent that they were really kind of losing the touch that they once had. Now, of course, kids can always watch the old episodes with Curly and Shemp. And when I think of the Three Stooges, I'm always going to think of the good moments of Curly, Moe, and Larry and Shemp all getting slapped by each other and punching each other. When I think of the Three Stooges, that's always going to be what I think of. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Please don't sue me.